Okay, so we're gonna fulfill what Chazal say and begin here with a joke. Okay, it's not like a joke with a punchline, but I was once at Rabbi Zimmer's house and we were talking about Rashi. Okay, and I think it must have been a conversation about Rashi per se, like about Rashi's like ideas and methodology. And like we arrived at like a disagreement about how to understand Rashi here, and then how to understand Rashi there, and how to understand Rashi there. So then he made the comment, and this is the joke. He said, I know what the issue is. There's a difference between the way you learn and the way I learn. He said, you learn Chumash with Rashi, but I learn Rashi on Chumash. Okay. The joke being that I think it was in the context of his world of Midrash, that like he's less interested in using Rashi to learn Chumash, and he's more interested in like learning Rashi as its own thing. Okay, now I think it's a joke, also because I don't think he actually means that about himself, and also the other joke is I don't actually learn Rashi. No, I'm just yeah. So I'm introducing with this joke because we're gonna do something different tonight. Okay, basically what happened was we have done the second book of Tehilim, starting from the beginning, which was Tehilim 42, 43, 44. We just finished 44. So Ken and I tackled 45. We figured might as well keep going. So we did this, and we only gave it one session, but this ended up being an extremely difficult perek. Okay, the words are just really weird. The like content is really weird, which we'll see. And then we started doing the Mefarshim. We did the Mitzudas David, and then we just read like what the other Mefarshim say that it's about. And we didn't learn through all the other Mefarshim, but it was just like, it felt like they were grasping at straws until we found Sforno. Okay, so Sforno takes an approach that no one else takes. The only other person who takes this is his student Elia di Nola, which we're going to treat as like Sforno plus. Okay, and they take an approach which like if I just told it to you straight out, you would say, well, that can't be what it's about. But I think we're going to actually be convinced that this might be what it's about. But here's the thing, is because I did not learn the perek on its own, I want to treat this as though we're learning Sforno. Okay, so treat this as like an essay on this Tehilim that we're primarily learning the ideas of Sforno. I do want to come away with an understanding of the perek, but we're going to do this differently than we've done before. One of the differences is we are not going to go word for word and translate. It's going to take too much time because it's so difficult. We're going to read it in English. We'll do our initial analysis thing of the pivot point and like theories, but then we're going to go line by line with Sforno and with Elia di Nola. Probably not finish that today, and we're going to try to like learn what we get here. And I think that either way, we'll come out on the other end with this complementing what we've done in the other prokim of the Bnei Korah. Okay, so it'll be a different kind of perek. Okay, so full disclosure, what I did here is I did translate it on my own, but then what I did is I took Art Scroll and then I took Alter, and then I fed all three into ChatGPT with the Hebrew, and then I had ChatGPT translate the Sforno and Elia di Nola, and then I had to go back and translate the English in accordance with their commentaries and the best of all the other ones. Okay, so I have not vetted this translation yet. But that's what we're going to do. And I'm actually going to, because we're not focusing on the translation activity, I'll give you copies up front here. Okay, so yeah, thank you for, I was going to mention this here. Okay, so if even though people listen to a lot of my shiur and will hear me talk about him a lot, I do want to publicize him. So Sforno was when? Sforno. Yeah, 1475 to 1549. Okay. I consider him a Rishon because he writes like a Rishon. Okay, I know technically speaking, people like make divisions in all sort of weird places, but he writes like a Rishon.
Isn't the Bekius Pharaoh accurate?
Yeah, some people say that. Some people say this expulsion from Spain. Like there's different places where people draw the line.
Pharaoh's an Achron.
Well, the real thing that people say is they say that Beis Yosef was the last Rishon and Yosef Karo was the first Achron. Sorry, the Shulchan Aruch is the first Achron. Which I get what they mean by that. Like it does make sense, but yeah.
Born before Sforno.
The Rabbi Yosef Karo. When was he born? Okay, nice. Let's just check that out. Yosef Karo, 1488. Okay, nice. Okay, so until like a couple years ago, we just had Sforno. Okay. But then this person, Rabbi Moshe Kravitz, I don't know where he is. I assume he's in Israel. Basically, I think he's doing his dissertation or did his dissertation on this shiur Rav Ovadia Sforno, who is Elia di Nola, who was a student of the Sforno. And basically what happened was this student of the Sforno was in the Sforno's shiurim and took extensive notes, okay? So this is kind of like a director's cut on Sforno Torah, okay? And typically what you'll find is what the Sforno says, Elia di Nola will expand upon. And I emailed Rabbi Moshe Kravitz and asked him, like, what do you do if you see like a contradiction between the Sforno and Elia di Nola? Who do you treat as the last word? So he said that Elia di Nola wrote his stuff later and is going to reflect the more up-to-date Sforno stuff. So and then the footnotes are just fantastic. Like he just will quote everywhere where Sforno talks about stuff. He'll quote in the footnotes. So Elia di Nola wrote this commentary, and then Rav Moshe Kravitz wrote these footnotes on all this stuff. So it's really, really, really good stuff. Okay, so let's just read it in English. Okay, again, we'll go through the Hebrew later. All right, for the conductor on the Shoshanim, I gotta plug this in. Okay. For the conductor on the Shoshanim by the sons of Korah, a contemplative psalm. Okay, that's what Maskell, same thing.
Was the Maskell last time?
Yeah, we translate it as a didactic psalm. This one might actually be more accurate for contemplative based on what they say. A song of love. Okay, I don't think that's a good translation. A song of loves, I think is better. Okay, this is Shir Yedidos. Okay, and I think Art School translated it as a song of endearments. Okay, but you'll see why Sforno does it as love. My heart conceived a noble thought. I say, my words are for the king. My tongue is the pen of a skilled scribe. You are the most beautiful of the sons of man. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore, God has blessed you forever. Gird your sword upon your thigh, O warrior, your majesty and your splendor. And in your splendor, succeed in advancing truth, humility, and righteousness. May your right hand teach awe-inspiring truths. Your arrows are sharpened. Peoples fall beneath you. They pierce the heart of the king's enemies. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. A scepter of uprightness is the scepter of your kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with oil of joy beyond your peers. Myrrh and aloes and cassia scent all your garments, C-E-N-T. From ivory palaces they have gladdened you. Daughters of kings are among your honored ones. The consort stands at your right hand, adorned in the gold of Ophir. Listen, daughter, and see, and incline your ear. Forget your people and your father's house. Then the king will desire your beauty, for he is your master, and you shall bow to him. You know what? It's funny. This is actually capitalizing all of the. It's already taking a stance on who the king is, and I will tell you right away. Plain shot is that this is not Hashem. I don't know why it assumed it's Hashem. Or I don't even know if it's assuming it's Hashem, but I assume from that. Yeah. All right. So okay. And the daughter of Tyre will come with tribute. The richest of the people will seek your favor. All the glory of the king's daughter is inward. That's the only famous pasuk in this perek, right? What is it in Hebrew? Kol kvuda bas melech panima. Okay, I think they quote that about Snea's stuff when they're in girls' schools.
We just read that in Shabbos.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What was the context there?
It was in terms of in the 5th chapter. It's what a woman may not go out with on.
Okay, so it is has to do with women's clothing, right, or adornments, I should say, right? Mishpatos zahav levusha. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading in the English. Her raiment is filigreed with gold. In embroidered garments, she is led to the king. Maidens in her train, her companions are brought to you. They are led with joy and gladness. They enter the palace of the king. In the place of your ancestors will be your sons. You will appoint them as princes throughout the land. I will make your name known in every generation. Therefore, peoples will praise you forever and ever. Okay, so we'll start the analysis. Same way we usually do. Impressions, pivots.
What's raiment?
Raiment is garments. The Hebrew, which pasuk is that? Yogimel, I think it's Bigdos. Is that the big? No. 14. It uses raiment there. I thought that's filigree. Oh, raiment. Yeah, it's filigree with gold, right? Mimishpatos zahav levusha. So levush. Yeah. Vanessa.
happened to me learning this yesterday, and the whole thing just
This
really
perek?
reminded me of shiur shame. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What?
It was
How
fun
random.
to- That's why I hopped on. I'm not usually on the Tehilim shiur.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. I just like when I first read it, like just I wasn't learning it super intensely.
Yeah.
But it just really reminded me of shiur shame
Yeah. Me
linguistically.
too. Yeah. Yeah. This is whole seems like some sort of like love story between a king and his princess.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of which, there is a shita that holds that this was written for weddings, for royal weddings. Okay. And then there's another shita that this is specifically written for Shlomo's marriage because I guess there's two hints that this might be Shlomo. Anyone know?
Oh, would it
One of them you could get from the English, the other one not so much.
is it
What's
the daughter of Tyre?
Yeah, right. The daughter of Tyre is he married the daughter of Tyre, I believe.
What is
And
Ophir?
Ophir
Oh,
is
you get
a
gold
guest
from
we had
Ophir?
last Shabbos in Yeshiva. Yeah. Ophir is a place where you get good gold, I think.
Didn't you get gold from here?
Oh, maybe. All right, so maybe three hints. And then the other hint is this is a shiur of Yedidos, and what was Shlomo's nickname?
Oh,
yeah.
Yedidia.
That's what the Navi called him.
Yeah, right. Or not nickname, I shouldn't say, but I'm like the name that we don't typically call him. That yeah, Isaiah.
One pasuk in here made me ask a question like, are we telling the truth this time?
Yeah, which one?
Pasuk 8. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with oil of joy and beyond your peers.
Yeah.
I guess we have maybe at some point in the past, and so maybe it's not necessarily.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you could guess which king this is talking about, not Shlomo,
David.
you guess David. Interesting. Okay.
He was anointed. I mean,
Yeah, this is totally possible.
I mean, it's odd because David is writing this. It doesn't sound like himself.
Well, the Bnei Korach are writing this.
Right.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
it could be.
So it seems like there are people who hold that this could be David, but the majority of the Mefarshim we saw said it's the Melech HaMashiach. Okay, and if it's Melech HaMashiach, then the righteousness and wickedness is definitely a quality of his. Yeah. Again, we're not going to take that approach. Yeah, Vanessa.
It's hard to word this question, but there's like a market point where he's talking to the sun, whoever the sun. I'm very confused by who the
Okay.
object of this poem is, and it shifts in the middle. He starts talking to the sun. Yeah, exactly.
So that is the pivot. Okay, right. So I think we can agree that at least one pivot is there because in 1 through 10, he is talking to. Well, he's certainly talking to a man. Presumably, he's talking to the king, not in pasuk 1 and 2. Because that's the scribe talking. But then he says, "You are the most beautiful of the sons of man, grace poured upon your lips. Therefore, God has blessed you forever. Girded your Lord upon your sword upon your thigh, etc., etc., etc. God has anointed you. Okay, daughters of kings are among your honored ones. The consort, which is a fancy name for the queen, right, stands at your right. Then listen, O daughter, and see, incline your ear. Then the king will desire your beauty, etc., etc." And so this is talking to the person he's marrying.
So 10 is talking to the king.
10 is talking to the king, correct?
There's at least be a pivot in the middle of 7, or the middle of 8.
Okay, yeah. Oh, hold on. There's something funky going on with 7 also, by the way. But yeah, in 8, you have love, righteousness, and hate wickedness. Therefore,
your God.
Right. So that's still talking to the king, right?
You mean the whole part was talking to the king before?
Yeah. Now here's the thing, though. This part threw me off. I also translated it as "O King," but I don't think that that's the translation. The Hebrew is Kisacha Elohim Olam V'ed. So we're not going to do the Metzudas David, but Metzudas David translated it in a way that is not talking about talking to God. It is Kisacha Elohim, Kise Hamlucha Hanasun Lecha Me Elohim, the throne of God, which I think fits better. Your throne from God is forever and ever, and then that fits also with Mashiach. Yeah, Isaiah.
It's weird. Pasuk base to say, what does it say in Hebrew?
Base.
My tongue is the pen of a skilled scribe.
Yeah.
Like the tongue is not the pen. The pen is the pen.
Yeah, right.
By the way, like, why are you talking about yourself?
Right. Well, the first two seem to be an introduction. Like the person who is writing this is talking about what they're going to say. And we'll get a better answer later on. But like what's claim shot of like my tongue is like the pen of a skilled scribe.
You're very good at speaking.
Yeah, right. The one person I know who's like this is Rabbi Fox. If you've ever heard Rabbi Fox speak, it is like I'm talking about speaking in any context. You could be having a normal conversation with him. You could give an impromptu Dvar Torah. It's like he's written the essay in his head and he's speaking in perfect order with perfect brevity and like clarity, you know? So that's like what I'm getting here is like, it's just a normal person needs to think and then they speak and they write down. This is just like, it's just like, poetry is just flowing out of the lips. Yeah. Yeah. Oren?
If you're doing this, pivot.
Yeah.
13 and on with that.
And daughter of Tyre will come with tribute. That's true. That is true. That's true.
You.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In 17, it says you, and that doesn't seem like it's
that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that is a weakness of this as a pivot. There is definitely an abrupt change, but whether this is truly the pivot
could be a pure classic pivot.
Yeah, no, right. This is what do we call it? Okay, well, there are program that we call that I used to call the Venetian blinds one, where windshield wiper. That's the new term that I coined, where it goes back and forth between two themes. Because this is only in the second half, then I'm not willing to say that. But you are right. This is not. So let's just highlight in blue. Well, here's what you could say maybe. The focus of 1 through 10 is on the king, and the focus of 11 until here. So 11 through 16 is on the brides or bride, right? I think that's a bit more.
17, 18 is ambiguous. It could be.
I think the reason why. Oh yeah, right. It could be. Yeah, it could be. Although it is weird though. I will make your name known. Does not sound like it's talking about the queen. It's probably more the king or Hashem. Yeah.
Well, first, why did you say bride and not daughter for 11 through 16?
I think because there are multiple princesses here. Listen, daughter, and see, incline your ear, forget your people in your father's house, then the king will desire your sorry. 10 is part of this. Daughters of kings are among your honored ones. This is also part of this.
That was what the other thing I was gonna ask about.
Yeah.
It's like
No,
the daughter that
Hebrew.
Wait. Isaiah was just speaking.
The
Yes.
daughter that we're focused, that the pesukim are focused on. Like, it seemed like it's his daughter, but also we're talking about other daughters. Like what's
So
on?
I'm biased by the Metzudas David's reading of just the facts here, which again we'll have to see if the Sforno has this. So Nitzeves Shagal. So Shagal is the is why they translate as consort, because it's like I always thought consort was a weird word, right? Like I know the one I'm most familiar with is because I watched The Crown on Netflix is they called Philip, right, Elizabeth II's husband, the royal consort, because she's the queen.
Right.
He's not the king, but and usually the woman is the consort. So but I think from context here, Nitzava Shagal Hamalka Tia Nitzava B'Yaminecha Mikushetes Bekesem Ophir V'Hakol Hu Mashal Legodol Agavan. So the queen is standing at your right, but then the Bikoras Shelcha Behen Yihu Af Benos Malachim. So in other words, the way I'm getting it is, and I think you got to think of Shlomo here, is he had many princesses who he married, but then there is a queen who's like the favorite or the the favored. Yeah. So I think that's Pshat. Yeah, Moshe, what were you gonna say?
No, I was saying in Yud it's still referring to a male. The grammar is still referring to.
That's true, right? But I think I'm persuaded by Oren's observation here that that I think the focus shifts to focusing on the women in 10 through 15 through 16, and then it goes back. So even though it's talking to the man, to the king. Yeah.
I guess this is not how you're learning it, and so it's probably wrong. But to me, it seemed like the daughters and the daughter that the pesukim are talking to are in the generation below the king, and like the queen is not in the generation of all these other.
Well, it's daughters of kings plural.
Right. So you're saying like these are the woman who came to
who's
marry
marrying? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the daughter of Tyre is seems to be like singled out.
Right.
Yeah. Vanessa.
We're saying we're not assuming that the king here is Hashem. So if not Hashem, who is the king?
Yeah, right. So that is going to be a main question. And most of the Mefarshim say it's either generally Ma'alchei Beis David, the kings of the Davidic kings, or it is the king Mashiach. I don't know if anyone said outright that this is Davka David, but it's either kings in general of David's house, or it's Mashiach or Shlomo. Yeah, but we're going to take a different approach. Yeah, I did.
Daughter of Tears, not Jewish, I
Right.
assume. That
She converted.
Is it good that she came?
Yeah, she converted.
Okay,
Well, yeah. See the
And all these
Rambam
other
at the
daughters
end
are
of Hilchos Yisur Bia, where he explains like, Shlomo didn't actually marry non-Jewish queens. Yeah. Okay, so again, if this were a normal perek of Tehilim, we would learn the perek, but we're going to learn Sforno. Okay, so let's now delve into Sforno. We're going to take this pasuk by pasuk. Okay, but again, this is a very unusual Tehilim share. Okay, but this is gonna be juicy. Okay, Sforno, and I did not vet this translation, so I'm going to go ahead and read and translate on my own. This is a ChatGPT translation. B'zeh mizmor heir chachmei doros zeh Galus. So in this mizmor, the chachamim of the generations, chachmei doros, heir chachmei doros zeh Galus. They are teaching, the chachamim of this generation are teaching this Galus, or teaching about this Galus, lahavin ulahoros amita shel Torah b'mofsim sichliyin, to understand and to teach the truth of Torah through rational proofs. Leman yizaku dorosam l'chaye olam, so that their generation will merit eternal life. V'tikarv hagula. Okay, and bring the gula close. What did I call this here in the chat? I called it. Hold on. Sforno on Tehilim 45, philosophy as the ticket out of Galus. Okay, so that's the theme. Okay. The Amar Shazeh Mizmorhu Shir Yedidos. It says that this is the song of loves. Shehu La'orer Ahavas Yisrael La'avim Shemashamayim. So it's to awaken love, Israel's love for their father in heaven. La'orer Ahavaso Alamo, and to awaken God's love for Israel. Okay. Now, you might say, well, where's he getting this from? Okay, so now this is where we go to Elia di Nola, and he fills us in with more details. Any shir that is called maskil, you need to contemplate, okay, as opposed to those other prokim Tehilim, they could say mindlessly. Yeah, right. I think what he means here is that this is going to be like an intense allegory, okay? Meaning other prokim Tehilim can have like a main idea that you can get the idea, and then like the rest is just poetry. You're going to see he's going to learn this. Each thing that has to be decoded, okay? And in that sense, Vanessa is also, her observation is also on target, which is that many learn Shir Shirim that way, right? Like the Rambam says Shir Shirim is a very intricate allegory where every single thing is mashal for something, for who has an
You
info.
learn Moscows in general this way?
So I've never done another Moskil with Sforno's derech, but it sounds like he is saying that it needs contemplation. So if I'm right that it's the same kind of contemplation, then yes. But we have to see. Okay, Yedidos shtei avos. So Yedidos is plural, two loves. Ha'ava sheyesh l'kadosh baruch hu l'Yisrael k'dichsiv ahavti eschem amar Hashem. So this is the love that God has for Israel, as it says, "I loved you," said Hashem. We did that when we did the shir on God's love. Va'ava shetiv Hashem yisbarach lanu shenahavehu. V'amro v'ahavta es Hashem l'kecha. V'ahavta es Hashem l'kecha. You should love Hashem your God. So that's the two loves. Yomar, so this is saying, now here's the cool part. This is the line that made me want to take this up in here, okay? So in this mizmor, the singer is explaining how these loves are, like how do you get these loves? The subject of this mizmor is what he concluded with El in the previous one, the Mizmor HaKodem, in the previous Mizmor, Mitzaros HaGalus, from the how do they translate Mitzaros? Calamities? That's how I translate it. The suffering, okay, fine. Yeah, straits of the exiles. Achshav Yivar Kitzaros HaGalus, Inam Ma'akvos Osanu, Milashuv El Hashem Elokeinu, Uledorsho B'chol HaGoyim Asher Hidichanu Shama. That now he's explaining that these the calamities or the straits or the troubles of Galus do not prevent us or do not impede us from returning to Hashem our God and seeking Him amid all the goyim that He dispersed us there. Shahari nasan banu hakoach hasichli, because He gave us the rational faculty. Bo bilvad nuchol lasos ritzonu yisbarach, and that's the only thing that we have to be able to fulfill God's will. V'day lanu me'at revach b'tzarosenu ad shenuchol lahaskil lehetiv lashuv elav, and all you need is a small reprieve in our suffering to allow us to use our intellect to improve and to return to God. Okay, so what was the message of the last perek that we did? If those who were here and remember last week,
wasn't that him like That's tantrum one.
Yeah, that's the tantrum one.
I'm like,
No, I remember more.
you need to get out of your like false assumption about
Yeah,
how the world works in order to understand.
right. In other words, this is when people were stuck in a false mentality that we used to have it so good and God used to love us and care for us, and then now it's all the bad stuff, and it's God's fault. Why is he doing this to us? We're totally righteous. And God should wake up and save us, right? So this was aimed to shatter that. And then the two program before, we learned a technique about what you're supposed to do, which was the talking to your own soul, right? Right? So why are you despondent? So those three program really had to do more with attitude and mindset. This one is instructional. I mean, there's a message here also, which is that if you're in Galus, he's not denying the fact that there's pain and suffering in Galus, but if you're in Galus and you say, well, I can't be involved in thinking and learning, that's false, right? So he's saying that you just need a little bit of an opening, and I'm going to now show you how to take that opening and then run, and it's going to be in the form of rational proofs of the truth of Torah. Okay, and I'll show you the derech. Okay, so that was like, ooh, we gotta learn this.
This is Shlomo saying, or is David saying this?
This is the Bnei Korach telling the people in Galus this, and he calls them Chachmei Doros Zeha Galus. So I don't know what his shita is. So sorry. Heir Chachmei Doros Zeha Galus. So this is whoever the author is, the Mishorer, is teaching the Chachamim who are in Galus now to use these methods. So I don't know who he holds is the one who wrote this. Yeah. Okay. Are we ready to start the journey? Okay. So Rachash libi davar tov omer ani ma'asai lamelech lashoni eit sofer mahir. So my heart conceived a noble thought. I say, my words are for the king. My tongue is the pen of a skilled scribe. Sforno. Rachash libi hirba laholid. Is this already a bad translation? Hirba, no. I had a whole discussion with ChatGPT about this. Hirba laholid, meaning it strove to bear fruit, right? Like hirba is like it was excessive to try to like bear fruit, to give birth. Davar tov b'moitos v'das, through counsel and, I hate it when it translates as understanding and knowledge. Omer ani ma'asai lamelech. I say my works are for the king. V'chol divrei elehim im hamelech misken v'chacham. Okay. The poor and the wise king. Who knows what that is? If you've learned enough Meiri on Mishlei, then you'll know what he's referencing here. Okay, so let's do a review of this. Okay, so this is a mashal from Shlomo HaMelech. Okay, in Koheles. And he uses this in several places throughout Koheles. But the reason why I go to the Meiri is because whenever the Meiri gives a derech nister, he expresses it in terms of this mashal. Okay, like this is the Meiri's favorite mashal of them all. I think it's in 7 or 9, but I always forget which one is which. Miskein. Oh. Yeah, okay. So Ir Ketana, Va'anashim Ba Ma'at. There was a small city, and there were very few people in it. Uba Elaha Melech Gadol, and there came upon it a great king. V'savav Osan, he surrounded it. Ubna Elaha Mitzodim Gadolim, and he built around it great siege works. Umata Ba Ish Miskin Chacham, and he found in it a poor wise man. Umilat hu es ha'ir b'chachmaso, and this poor wise man saved the city with his wisdom. Va'adam lo zachar es ha'ish hamiskenahu, and no one remembered that poor man. V'amarti ani tova chachma migvura v'chachmas hamiskin bizuya udvarav enam nishma'im. And I said, this is Galus talking. I said, chachma is better than might, and the wisdom of the poor degraded of the poor guy is degraded, and his words are not heeded. Okay, so what is this a mashal for? Anyone know? Chazal say what this is a mashal for, but who's the king? Who's the poor wise man? No.
King is
Any haughty person?
Yes, king is Yitzhak. Why is he called the king?
a lot of power.
He has a lot of power, right? And in other places, he's called the old king. And why is he called the old king?
Always gonna have a lot of power over you.
No. Yeah, because the Yitzhar has a head start on the Yitzhar Tov by 13 years, right? So I think Rashi brings all this down. Rashi says, Oh no, you want there must be a. Oh yeah. Midrash Agada, Ir Katana Zehaguf. Okay, so the city is the body. Vanashim Ba and the people in it, Ivar of Shaladim, those are the limbs. Okay. Melch Gadol, Yetzahara, Shekol HaIvarim Margishin Bo. I don't know what Margishin means in this concept, but I think all of the limbs are fearful of him or obey him.
Like,
What was that?
excited.
Maybe. I think though he has command over the limbs though. Ish Miskin is the Yitzer, so the poor man is the Yitzer Tov. Okay. And yeah, okay, so that's the mashal, right? And then again, the mashal is throughout Kohalas. Okay, so the Sforno is saying that that's what the that's the king we're talking about here. Okay. Oh, who else? Okay. Anyone know where the Rambam uses this mashal? It's not maybe not be the exact mashal, but where the king is the Yitzer Tov.
Is it in the going around? The people go now.
No, that's a good guess though. That the king is Hashem. So this is in I think it's in 351 in the Mornevuchim. 352. Okay. Man does not sit, move, and occupy himself when he is alone in his house, as he sits, moves, and occupies himself when he is in the presence of a great king. Nor does he speak and conduct himself when he is with his family and relatives, as he speaks in the king's council. Therefore, he who chooses to achieve human perfection and to be a true man of God must awaken himself and know that the great king who accompanies him and clings to him is greater than any human king being, even King David and Solomon. And then I write here, now, if one were to pause here and ask, who is this king? Most people would answer, God, of course. The Rambam, however, provides a different answer. The king who cleaves to man and accompanies him is the intellect that overflows towards us and is the bond between us and him. May he be exalted. Just as we apprehend him by means of that light, which he caused to overflow towards us, as it is stated, in your light do we see light, so does he, by means of this self-same light, examine us, and because of it, he, may he be exalted, is constantly with us, examining us from on high. Can anyone hide himself in secret places that I shall not see him? Now, I'm not saying that the Rambam holds that this is the rational faculty, but something having to do with the intellect, he uses as a mashal of a king. Okay, so Sforno is taking it that way. Yeah, Isaiah.
Probably mean there's a typo.
Oh, yeah.
In the translation Pasuk says his word. No, in the other thing we were just on. Yeah, my words are for the king, or I say my works are for the king. You said in Sforno.
Oh, my word.
So which one is it?
Good question. Let's see what he says. Devar tov moitos v'das. So probably words makes more sense, right? Or word is probably. I don't know why it says words plural. Yeah.
So in Sforno you wrote words.
You mean ChatGPT wrote words? Yeah. Where my heart is stirred. Oh, it works. I see. Yeah, thanks. My word is for the king. Oh, words. He does say words. That may be where I got it from. My words are for the king. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All these words pertain to the poor and wise king. That is the intellect. So this is the twist. Okay. So he says that this is talking about the melech in the goof, which is the sorry. Okay, sorry. I messed something up here just now. I totally messed something up. Hamel hamiskin v'chacham. That's not the mashal in Koheles. That's combining two mashalim, right? The old king and the poor chacham. That's strange. Yeah. So I guess what he must mean, yeah.
Isn't that combining the Rambam and the first one that we looked at?
Yeah, it is like the Rambam. You know, I think there is another pasuk in Koheles that does have a triumphant story here. Yatza limloch. Gamba Malchuso Nolad Rosh. So I think this does happen to the king. Hold on. Am I making up a pasuk in Koheles? Okay. 4:14. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Tov Yeled Miskin V'Chacham Mi Melech Zachin Uksia Shelo Yadar Lizayot. I bet Rashi says the same thing here. Better a. Can you stop the noise? Thanks. Better a poor and wise youth than an old and foolish king who does not know how to guard himself anymore. Rashi says, yeah, Tov Yeled Miskin Ze Yetzer Tov. Lama Nikra Yeled She'eno Ba'adam Ad Yigam Moshana. So you don't get a Yetzer Tov until you're 13. Miskin She'en Ha'ivarim Nishomin Lo Kmol Yetzer Hara. This is the word Rashi I was looking for actually. He's called poor because the limbs don't obey him. So not poor in terms of not having money, but not having influence. Chacham is shemaskil es adam b'derech tova. He intelligently guides a person on the right path. Mimelech zakin uksiel yitzaharashu shalit al kol hevarim. So he's called a king because he rules over all the limbs. Zakin mishash nolad havlad hu nasun bo shnemar the pesach hatas rove. It's different pasuk than he quotes. Yeah, okay. Isn't that the machlokes between quote unquote Marcus Aurelius and Yehuda Hanasi? You get the Yitzhahar from in the womb or from birth, right? And I think Antoninus says that Yehuda Hanasi says you get it in the womb, and then Antoninus says if it's in the womb, then it would like burst its way out of the mother. So this is the Pesach Hatas Roves. Yeah. It's not Marcus Aurelius, by the way. So a listener sent me a book called The Prince and the Emperors, and it's all about Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi and his relationship with the emperors. And he makes the argument here that it can't be Marcus Aurelius. So I don't remember his argument, but he he was the big intercessor on the part of the Jews at the time. Uksiel shematehu l'derech ra, so he's called foolish because he leads man astray. Kahu nidrush b'midrash, so that's not Rashi, it's Midrash Rabbah. Asher lo yada he's our ode, he doesn't know how to guard himself anymore. Shahari hiskin ve'eno makabel tochacha, and he doesn't accept rebuke. Now here's the triumph story. Kimi beis hasurim yatza limloch. This Yeled emerged from the prison to rule. Who does that remind you of? Yosef, right? I think it's an allusion to Yosef. Ki gam b'malchuso nolad rash. For even in his kingship, he was born poor. Okay, Rashi says, so from a place of putridity. Okay, not basis or not the I guess he's not learning it as a prison. When he ruled over man, Hamiskin hatov mimenu. What does this mean? Even though in his own kingdom, since he reigned over man, the poor one was born, who was better than he. Well, the point I wanted to get out of this is that this, maybe Sforno is talking about where this guy ends up, because what we're going to talk about in this perek is the intellect in its proper state. So this is the king who was once poor, who is now ruling. Okay, fine. So that's the intellect. But then the other thing is this is also Mashiach. So he wants to have his cake and eat it too. That this is talking about the rulership of the intellect within the body and the rulership of Mashiach among the nation and the world. Okay, have you heard this notion? I don't know where this comes from. This notion about like there's like three Malchios. There's like the Melech in a person of like the king ruling over the self, and then there's the king in politics, and then there's the Melech HaOlam or something like that. I feel like I've heard people talk about this. No? All right, fine. Yeah, well, he's taking this as a dual mashal. So he's saying whatever we say about the intellect will also apply. Whatever we say about the intellect guiding the individual is also going to apply to how about the Mashiach guiding the nations.
Is that because the Melech Mashiach is the one who is the master of his intellect?
Meaning the Melech Mashiach is going to have to have done this in himself before he can do it with others. But he's going to be using the same strategy for other people also. In other words, like in the same way as I have to improve myself by using my mind to do tshuva and overcome the bad emotional tendencies, the Melech Mashiach is going to have to orchestrate that on a geopolitical level with getting other nations to serve Hashem. I think that's like the approach he's going to take. So it's a very, very ambitious thesis here, okay? And then he says, Lashoni 8 Sofer Mahir, Hakosa Brote Tevos. Oh, this is an interesting one, okay? This might be another methodology thing. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer who writes in abbreviation, okay? V'chein yihu devarai b'kotzer milin. I'm going to write concisely. So not only is this going to be a jam-packed analogy, it's going to be written in brief allusions. Yeah, Roshi Tevos. Not literal Roshi Tevos, he says that term, but he means like you're just going to allude to things, okay? Yeah, so this is like a double-edged sword, okay? Because on the one hand, he's claiming that there's going to be a lot of stuff to contemplate here, but on the other hand, he's claiming that it's only alluded to, so it's speculative, but you're going to see, I think he does a good job, all right? All right, let's do Elia di Nola. Here's the good matter. This is what I tell you now. Saying, all of my deeds are for the king. Klomar bishvil hamelech, they're for the sake of the king. Shehu haseichel, which is the intellect. V'nikra melech lefishu mitzave l'shar kokos. It's called king because he commands the other limbs. V'in acher nagid alav, and no one is a ruler over him. Kimishpat hamelech, just like the king. L'shoni eight sofer mahir all tamtin she'omer lecha hakol be'er hedev. Don't wait for me to like explain everything to you. Rosh prakim bavad, just Rosh prakim. I mean, Rosh prakim is better than Rosh tevos, right? Kisofer hamahir sheb'emtza diburo posek ba'omro, like a fast scribe who abbreviates with v'gomer. I've never seen someone quote v'gomer as a thing. I guess that was going on back then. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's that pasuk. All right. Next pasuk. All right. Yaf yafisa mibnei adam hutzat chen b'sifsosecha al ken birachacha Elohim leolam. You are the most beautiful of the sons of man. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore, God has blessed you forever. Okay, and let's play that. Now that we have the thesis, let's do the guessing game. What do you think he's going to say that this is referring to here? If the king is, if he's talking to the king now, and the king of the intellect.
Mashiach who follows the intellect.
So you're right. We got to do two levels, right? So the Mashiach who follows the intellect is going to be the best of men. Okay, so that's definitely true. Side machlokas, you know about the machlokas about Mashiach versus Moshe Rabbeinu?
The Nevuah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so who holds what? And why?
Moshe is the highest.
Right, Rambam says Moshe is the highest, and Mashiach will be close to Moshe. I'm sorry, Mashiach will be. Did I say Rambam? Mashiach will be close to Moshe. Okay. Okay, yeah. All right, good. Well, yeah, that's Rambam. Rabag, though, holds that Mashiach will be a greater Navi than Moshe, and he has a very compelling proof. The reason why Rambam doesn't want to say that Mashiach is going to be greater than Moshe is very clear, because, sorry, what? Yeah, right, Lo Moshe, but also for I don't want to call it a practical reason, but for a systemic reason, because, Moshe gave the Torah, right? And so you run into big problems if, like, is the Mashiach's Nevuah going to have, like, a higher status than Moshe's, and if not, why not? So
would be very happy to update the Torah.
Won't he be able to figure it out?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's a whole speculation. There's a whole industry out there of I've been wanting to write this post for a long time. This is the closest thing I have to eschatological fiction, of like end of days fiction, of halakhic speculation of how much could the Torah change with Mashiach, whatever. Anyway, but Rambam says it won't, so that's he puts a stop on it. But Rabag has a good proof, though. So there's this principle which I never really understood about how the greater the Navi, then the greater the miracles he can do, right? Like it even says it in the Lokam Israel Lachom Osos Lemofsim. And what does it say about the Osos Lemofsim? That they were done
in front of the eyes of Israel.
L'chol osos v'mosim asher shalachu Hashem latzos be'eretz Mitzrayim l'faro u'l'chol avadav u'l'chol hayat hachazaka u'l'chol amor hagadol asher asa Moshe le'eni kol Yisrael. Right, so it's done for Paro, Mitzrayim, and Yisrael. So Rabag holds, what is the Mashiach going to have to do? Tchias HaMesim, and that's going to be the entire world. Okay, is going to see that, and it's going to be over the whole world, and it is going to, and that's how Rabag holds that we're going to convince everyone that this is actually Mashiach, because once you see the guy raising the dead, then it's a good chance that's Mashiach. So he holds that to do a miracle that's on a global scale, you need to be a greater Navi. So interesting machlokas.
Yeah, Mason.
Because he has to do this amazing, yeah.
Oh no, who says he has to do this Mason?
I think in Rabag's theory of miracles, then all miracles have to be like brought about through a Navi, and I don't think that's a controversial principle, but yeah. Okay. So so this could be about Mashiach. Now, what if it's about the intellect, though? How do we interpret it? You have to ask who are the other people, right? What does it mean you're the most beautiful? What does it mean that your lips overflow with the chain? What's the chain?
You're saying to interpret this pasuk as like we're saying a mashal for the intellect is a king, and so he would be one of the most beautiful of the sons of man in this pasuk. Like that king would be the most beautiful.
So that's taking it as a mashal for a Mashiach who has perfected intellect.
No, I'm saying
right.
Take it as a mashal for the intellect.
Yeah.
Intellect. Then you have to say that you are the most beautiful of the sons of man. It's referring directly to the intellect.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So who are the
that's
sons of
saying
man?
that- But you, so what do you think?
No, so that's what I'm asking is who are the sons of man? They're not human beings because we're talking to the intellect.
Faculties of man.
Faculties. Ding. Okay, right. Okay, so let's read. Yafyafis mi b'nei Adam. Hine ata hakoach hanechbad mikol kochos Adam. So you're the most honored faculty of all the human faculties. Chutzat chen b'sivs vosecha shenasan hakel yisbarach l'cha b'teva hamuskalos harishonos asher bam tikne shlemus. Okay, God graced you with muskal rishon, right? So what is a muskal rishon? Or first principle? Not like tech bros say first principles, but
The logical foundations upon which you can base other.
right. So it's a big mystery. So we got these like inherent ideas in the mind, innate. Big mystery where they come from. Is it like from the other realm, like Plato holds, like built into the soul, or Aristotle holds there's some sort of like not primordial, like a primary like abstraction process from the senses, but ideas like quantity, or that the part is smaller than the whole, or the law of non-contradiction, or the concept of equality, or essence and accident, or cause and effect. So these are not ideas that you can get from the external world, or like in other words, like you approach the external world with these ideas, and those are the building blocks of all of the rest of our knowledge. So this is actually a good. Here, I'll give you a shot in the fourth bracha of the Shemona Esrei. I think this is from the Sefer HaIkarim. Ata chonein la'adam da'as umlamed le'enosh bina. So what does it mean chonein da'as? And why Adam? So he says it means that God chin means lashon like matnas chinam, that God grants man da'as, which is first principles, and that's for free. Okay. And then malamed le'enosh bina, malamed is a process of limud, that bina has to be knowledge that you arrive at through your own like thinking. Okay, yeah, Moshe?
What is what do you mean by faculties, and what does it mean that he granted into like first principles? Isn't that what like first principles are?
So what he's saying is, okay, so the faculties here, I don't know how Aristotelian Sforno is. I mean, I know he is very Aristotelian. I just don't know how hardcore. So I'm going to kind of assume that he has the same model as like the Rambam in the Shemona Prakim, which is that there's 5 faculties. There's the nutritive faculty, which is basically roughly equivalent to what we would call like physiology, like the bodily processes that just regulate stuff like digestion and breathing and blood pumping and everything like that. Then there's the sensory faculty, which is they held 5 senses. Okay, we held that there are many more, but that's how you get data, sensory data from the external world. Then there's the imaginative faculty, which is the faculty that records the sensory data, recalls the sensory data, and can manipulate the sensory data. So if I see an elephant and I see pink, I can remember those, recall them, and I can imagine a pink elephant, and then there's the emotive faculty, or the emotional faculty, or the motivational faculty, which is the faculty of attraction and repulsion, which is responsible for all of our emotions, basically. That, and all emotions he divided into 2 categories of, they're either emotions of attraction or repulsion. So love is attraction, hate is repulsion, anger is repulsion, generosity is attraction, whatever you want to say. And so those are the purpose of that faculty is to move the organism, and then the rational faculty is the 5th one. That's the intellect. And the other question you asked, which is what does it mean that God gave the intellect the muskal rishonos? So I think this is because, let's say with the imagination starts off a blank slate. You're not born with anything in your imagination. You have to get sensory data from the external world through your senses, and then you have it. So before you've seen let's say like a bird, right? So then there's nothing in your imagination that can like imagine bird. And then once you see one bird, now you can like imagine it in different ways, and like you're just collecting stuff, and now you get it. Okay. And same thing with the koach hazan, the nutritive faculty, is that it's just a faculty, but you need to supply it with the food to be able to process, So the intellect usually is a blank slate in terms of derived knowledge, but God gave it a starting program. I don't know, program is the wrong analogy here, but like a set of tools. Maybe program is a good analogy. These first principles that we don't learn, we just somehow start off with, And that's what allows us to get all the other knowledge.
So in terms of mechanistically,
Yeah.
as a blank slate, that's how all faculties are different.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I think he's saying two things though. I think he's you're reading what he's saying here, which is good, which is that reading the two sentences as connected, that you are the most distinguished of the faculties, for God has given you no, that's actually, I don't think so. No, I think he's going to argue that the Kol HaSichli is the most distinguished of the faculties, period. Because that's the whole mashal of that the internal king rules over all the other faculties of the soul. And then the grace is poured upon your lips means that God bestowed you, granted you these first principles for free. Okay, and therefore, so that you could get perfection, Al Kain, therefore, Beracha Elokim Leolam, God blessed you forever. So he takes that literally. Shetihi nitzchi b'shlei musacha, that you will be eternal in your perfection. And that's another thing that makes the intellectual faculty better, because all the other faculties die when your body dies, but the rational faculty is the part of you that lasts in Olam Haba. Okay, so you see already you could see it's a very, very tight explanation of like everything as a mashal here. Let's look at Elia di Nola. To prove this, he begins to recount the details of the intellect that is in us and its attributes. That's an important thing for the theme of the perek, that through the intellect, God loves us, and God is mashgiach on us. Okay, and clearly also we love God. So that's another big principle certainly in the Rambam and in the Sforno and in the Ralbag. Unclear about the Ramban, how far he takes it, but that the only basis of hashgacha pratis is the seichel. Okay, so in accordance with the development of your seichel, then you'll get God's love. All right. Yafyafisa b'bnei Adam yomar l'seichel. So he's talking to the seichel. Ata yafyafisa v'nivdeles b'yofi mishar hakol Adam. You are beautiful and distinguished in your beauty from the other faculties of man. Shnikraim b'nei Adam, that are called human beings. God implanted into you from the beginning first principles. Okay, so we don't know where they come from. As we say in Shemona, oh look, Chonin Hadas. He also gives that shot. Nice. Alkein biracha elkim lo'olam ki b'seitz Hashem bo ela hamuskalos asal b'foal v'hotzio min hakofius shahaya bo ba'ofen shebezen nasan lo metzius tuv v'nitzli. Okay, that's a beautiful description here. That I'll just read this here. That therefore God has blessed you forever. These innate ideas brought the intellect from potential to actual, granting it a good and eternal existence, ready to receive secondary knowledge. Those are muskalos shnios. So God started you off, and then through this capacity to gain knowledge, you can further actualize your intellect and then give it the ability to be eternal. Yeah.
I mean, maybe a little bit confusing me, like the way he's describing it. These innate ideas brought the intellect from potential to actual. Like, it's not like there was a chronology of like there was intellect without the first principles and then like got added. But like intellect doesn't mean anything without first.
Right. I think that's what Moshe was bothered by. Also, I think what he means is constitutionally. Then these are the starting. This is the starting point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the way, also just so you know, I don't know what Sforno holds about this, but actually it's not relevant. Never mind. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, gird your sword upon your thigh, O warrior, your majesty and your splendor. This is much harder to figure out here. So what is the mashal?
Just to read this, I think gird your sword, your majesty, and your splendor upon your thigh.
Chagor charbecha al yarech gibor. Sorry, how do you want to say it?
And then just read gird your sword and your majesty and your
splendor. That's how you're reading it. Yeah. I think this is just trying to preserve the order in the pasuk.
I thought it was that your sword is your majesty and your splendor.
Yeah, I think that's what you're saying, right? Your sword is your.
No, I was saying gird your sword and your majesty and your splendor.
Oh, Yeah, I think I like this other reading better. That you're. Actually, it's a good question. I don't know. Your sword. It would be weird if we said that your sword is your majesty and your splendor.
The warrior is the intellect.
So that's what I'm going to assume. Yeah.
We say this. They always see that the scepter is like righteousness or something.
Right.
So. Right.
That's true. That's a good point. All right. Let's see. Let's just in this time. Let's see what he says. to engage in debate and teach truth. Okay, so battle is going to battle for truth. Okay, hodecha v'hadaracha v'cherev shetachor hi cherev hodecha b'yedia v'hadarecha lahoros lacherin. Okay, so what is this? So your sword is the sword of your glory, which is knowledge, and majesty is instructing others. All right, let's just see clarity from Elia di Nola. Chagor, he also does the next pasuk. V'hadarecha slach rechav al dvar emes v'anvas tzedek v'sorcha noras yiminacha. And in your splendor, succeed in advancing truth. So slach, isn't it weird to see slach as a verb? Humility and right, like hatzlacha. Humility and righteousness. May your right hand teach awe-inspiring truths. Okay, we're gonna have to come to this next time. Let's just see here. Gird your sword. So chagor achar shel ion, the sword of ion. Hu hodecha v'hadarecha. That's your splendor and majesty. Hadarecha hamiti, but your true glory, majesty. Slach ruchav al davar emes shetisa v'titein be'emuna k'dei limtzo ha'emes, is so that you debate in faith, in good faith, in order to find truth. Ki chosamo shel kadosh baruch hu emes, because the seal of God is truth. V'lo l'kanter, not to break down. It's funny, it says here not to score points. Okay. V'od lachor v'lidrus b'muskalos b'anva tzedek. Also, you have to do so with humility and justice. V'lo b'charafos v'gidufim l'char v'lugadav, not using ad hominem attacks, not with insults and mockery. She'ata mizvakiach with the person who you're arguing with. The im taseh ba'oven zeh, if you do this, az torcha noras yiminecha, then your right hand will guide you to find truth. Shimincha Torah oscha noras, it will guide you to find awesome things. V'timsa emes. So this is again, this is what I like about the Sforno. He's being serious here. This perek is a guide to how to use your intellect to attain the truth of Torah, which will bring about teshuvah for you. And then if everyone implements this, then Yemos Mashiach, and if the Mashiach implements this, then this will be like convincing other people. So this is like a really like a step-by-step guide for how to perfect your intellect in Galus. Okay, so this is why I'm curious to like, this is like, it's almost like more Mishlei than Tehilim in the sense that it's guiding you on how to like apply your intellect to thinking, but it's on Derech Nister Mishlei.
This kind of reminds me.
Yeah, of Avos, yeah, it does, yeah.
This kind of reminds me of the Shishayom for Sunday when we had to be in generation and had to produce the Mashiach.
Right, yeah, right. Good call.
Yeah, we have to do it in the Mashiach, but ultimately Mashiach himself has to. It can just like be reproduce Mashiach. So
yeah.
Mashiach has to also be.
Yeah, right. That I forgot about that. That was a good pair. Okay, all right. So Bli Never, we will continue next week and see where this takes us. Interesting stuff. I know it's not everyone's